Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the witnesses for their willingness to serve their country. General, I have a lot of questions for you. We're going to meet here soon. As you probably know, Alaska has unique wildlife and management challenges, spanning 16 wildlife refuges, 76 million acres of Fish and Wildlife Service managed land. If you want a little context, that's much larger than the state of Wyoming, 16 million acres, bigger than Wyoming, just our Fish and Wildlife Service land. And hopefully you've read the ANILCA, and have you read the Sturgeon 1 and Sturgeon 2 Supreme Court cases?
I have read about, Senator, about ANILCA.
Okay.
I don't know Sturgeon 1 and
Sturgeon 1 and Sturgeon 2, recent Supreme Court cases, twice, 9-0. The Supreme Court of the United States said Alaska is unique. All these federal lands, all these federal agencies who try to shut us down were unique. It was a great, very strong statement, 9-0 twice in 2 years. So I'd like you to read those cases, and you and I are going to have a long discussion. But the Supreme Court has said that ANILCA recognizes that Alaska is different, it's unique, its vast wilderness, its subsistence needs, and the need for special treatment in the management of its resources are all reflected in the federal law ANILCA, which a lot of Alaskans don't like, I don't like, but at least there's some protections. But we're unique in other ways. When Democrats get into power, they try to crush my state, okay? This is what I call the Alaska Last Frontier lockup. 70 executive orders and executive actions, 70 from the Biden administration exclusively focused on Alaska, most of which were hurting the native people of my state. Now, why did they do this? Because the radical far-left environmental groups want to crush my state, okay? So will you work with me and the President of the United States, I'm going to get to this, to undo this illegal, by the way, most of these were illegal, 7-0. The national media never wrote the story, not one story. Can you imagine? A federal government comes and says, I'm going to crush one state and really hurt the native people, and we're going to do it illegally, and nobody ever wrote about that. It's amazing. They're not going to write about this either. Most of these actions were illegal. Yesterday, a very liberal judge in Alaska said the Biden administration's shutting down of the Anwar lease sales was illegal. New York Times, Washington Post, you going to write that story? No, because they love it when my state gets crushed. Here's help's on the way, though. Day one of this administration, the Trump administration, the President of the United States issued this executive order, unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. Day one, I want to thank the President and his team. It's undoing all the illegal stuff that they did against my state, hurting my constituents, hurting working families, especially hurting the native people. By the way, whenever you hear the Biden folks and some of my National Democrat friends talk about indigenous people and they really care about them, big asterisk, except if you're indigenous in Alaska. Then they come for you. And I got a list a mile long of how National Democrats in this city come after negatively the native people of Alaska, which really makes me mad. You can kind of tell. So will you commit to work with me on implementing the President's Day One executive order? It's very long, very detailed, on unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential and economy and jobs in my state. We're the only state that has one of these, and it's because we got crushed by Biden. Can I get your commitment on that?
Senator, absolutely. I look forward to our meeting, I think, tomorrow. And
yeah.
I also look forward to visiting your state and learning about a lot of issues that you're very passionate about.
I'm very passionate about it, and I don't like being singled out by Democrats, Chuck Schumer, to crush my state. It's just wrong. And again, I want to thank the President, this President, for what he's doing to help Alaska. Ms. Kramer, I got a couple quick questions for you. Alaska has over 170 million acres of wetlands subject to federal jurisdiction. It's home to 63% of the waters subject to the Clean Water Act and 65% of the nation's wetlands. So again, we kind of have a little bit of issues with our federal agencies. In light of the Supreme Court's decision in Sackett, will you assure me that permafrost and permafrost wetlands are not considered waters of the U.S.?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. I know you will appreciate the fact that I cannot prejudge a rulemaking outcome. However, I will commit to ensuring that we follow SACIT to the letter of the law. And if you would have me, I also would love the opportunity to come visit your state to see the features you're talking about in person, to be able to help as we walk down that path.
Great. I'd like actually commitment from all three of you to come to Alaska and visit. We have so many unique challenges. I've just mentioned two. There's a whole bunch of other ones.
Absolutely, Senator.
Absolutely.
I would love to.
And Mr. Donahue, real quick, I'm sorry I'm over my time, but these are such important issues. The EPA has a long and very negative history of oppressive tactics in my state. I've talked many times about the Chicken Alaska raid on our placer miners, okay? 20, 30 armed EPA agents, body armor, assault weapons, to arrest placer miners for Clean Water Act violations. They found zero, okay? Scared the heck out of my constituents. By the way, they were lucky. A lot of my constituents are armed. We take the Second Amendment very seriously. And then, just a couple years ago, a group of 30 armed EPA agents, some from the lower 48, were doing raids on mechanic shops in Alaska. Armed raids, 30 agents. By the way, I don't even know why the EPA has armed agents. One of my first bills was to get rid of the EPA. They just go to state troopers, say, we're going to do something. Why does the EPA have SWAT teams? Calling Doge, right? Let's get rid of the EPA's armed brigades. What the hell is that? We don't need that in America. Can I get your commitment to, as opposed to coming up to my state with 30 armed agents scaring the heck out of everybody, working with us on compliance with the law rather than jumping to very aggressive enforcement? I mean, they should have gone to these placer miners, these mechanic shops saying, hey, we think you're violating the Clean Air Act. We want to work with you. We'll fine you, civil fine. No, they show up, 30 armed agents. By the way, the EPA never answered my questions. What were these lower 48 agents doing in my state? Did they go fishing after they? I mean, it's crazy. Can I get your commitment on this? It's a real problem. Someone's going to get hurt. And they keep doing it in my state, and we don't appreciate it.
Senator, I hear your concerns. It's not the first I've heard about this. Just to point out, this is a different office within the EPA.
It's not under your general
It's
counsel.
not OGC. It's the Office of Enforcement and Compliance Assurance. But the Office of General Counsel works hand in hand with OGC, or with OECA rather, and the regional councils in the regions, as well as the Department of Justice on a lot of this. But I can commit to you that we will look into it and hopefully see a path forward to resolve your concerns.
Great, thank you.